Summer Flash, that's what I'm going to call it. It tastes really good. I don't see how it could not have, with Madison's cross being one and my zucchini the other. Still need to name that zucchini. Anyway, I'd probably mention this. I'm cutting off the leaves, and except for, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them, and it's spurring this growth here. I've got this one that's set, this one in here that's set, and this one up here that's set. It won't set too many more and continue to grow because it thinks it's producing the seed it needs, but once I take those other ones, they'll start growing again. This one is not got as many babies on it, but it's also growing, and I've trimmed the leaves, and I've got one up there, or 2 actually, that have set. So I've already eaten probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 squash, maybe a little bit more. So I know I've had 3 meals off of it, and it does taste really good. Continuing with the breeding stuff, this is California Bryan. This pepper, and this one back here have all been bred cross-pollinated is what I mean by that, with this plant, which is lipstick. Lipstick, it's got a bunch of fruit underneath here. Let me turn the viewer so I can see that you're seeing it. You see here, they are probably a little bigger than California Bryan, but they're sweet. And they're supposed to be really sweet. This one is quite unusual. I didn't notice this before. I grew lipstick last year too, but I didn't notice this before. If you smell this foliage right here, especially in the area where the new growth is, it has like a sweet aromatic, like fruit smell. I can't really describe the fruit, but it's somewhere between a melon, peach, other fragrant types of fruit, maybe not mango, but anyway, it's quite unusual, and I think that's quite exciting, meaning I'm hoping that the fruit of this particular plant will taste like that. I know California Bryan doesn't, and the other pepper I'm going to breed with, or have crossed already, doesn't smell like it. So while we're talking about that, so I bred California to lipstick, and that's what these 3 peppers are. I'm removing all of the flowers so that it'll put all of its energy into these 3. I've also got a pepper down here. That's what a grown one looks like, and it's just about to start changing. It'll change from this color, every shade, all the way to a really cool red color. And that seed right there is the next generation of California Bryan. Okay, I've also crossed, I used the male pollen from lipstick to cross with California Bryan, the female of California Bryan. I used the male pollen from California Bryan to cross with this pepper here. I may name it in the future, but right now it's not behaving like the plant that I ordered. So this is the size of it. This is actually one of the crosses. You could tell by the little piece of tomato twine here. I also crossed that one back there. It was the first one. I put a yellow flag on it. And let's see if I can get around here so you can see that one. I hope I'm not moving too fast and making you dizzy. But that's this one here. Let me turn the thing. Oh, there, I can see that. You can see it now. It's supposed to be shorter and a lot fatter, but I've got extra up here for taste sampling because I've never tasted this one, and I've got several of them actually. One here, and several that are coming on in the canopy there. Been fertilizing. Here's one right in front of my face. So we're going to taste test it, and we'll continue to grow it, see what it's like. It's supposed to be a sweet pepper, so we'll see what happens with it. I can tell you one thing's for sure. It's very tall. I thought it was just trying to reach the lights, but the nodal distance, the distance between leaves, is not that great. And California Bryan is behaving pretty much like it does, and so is lipstick, like it's supposed to do. So my thoughts are that whatever this tree pepper is here, it's pretty much its natural habitat. That's how it naturally grows in its habitat. Now, one thing it can be used for, if it tastes great, is you could grow it up like 2 vines, like you do a double tomato vine, and it just will keep growing and keep setting fruit and just kind of hang down kind of like a cucumber. And this is my eggplant. I've got one coming on back here. I like the coloration of it. It's I don't know, it looks kind of lavender to me. And you can see the stripes in it of Listada Dungandia. And I think in the sun it'll be darker. The calyx, this part here, right here, it'll be darker because the mother plant was really dark. And the father was Listada Dungandia. So the mother was camo. I'll go ahead and tell you that. And it's a really dark one. One of baby beef left. And I've taken all the fruit off of it. And I'm letting these grow. I'm going to now, since there's plenty of room for these other plants, I'll talk about in a second, I'm going to let this one grow, and we'll see what kind of truss I can get off of it. I don't need any more seed, so now it's just to see. So yeah, if you remember from the last one, I had 4 here, and these others, Katie Ann and Pink Crush, that I'm going to talk about in just a second, were significantly smaller, and these 4 were out, you know, they were shading out the others, and so I needed room for these to come in. So now that we're on the subject, first off, I was having some magnesium deficiency here, so I've started spraying, and it's starting to recover pretty good. And that's why you see some of the leaves are a little bit shiny. It's magnesium sulfate with an organic soap, very little bit of organic soap to help it stick. And this particular leaf here was showing some deficiency too, but it's bounced back quite a bit. These are, I've only got 2 real sample examples left of Katie Ann. Katie Ann is a cross between my cherry tomato and San Marzano Redorta. Redorta is a San Marzano type that's really quite big, and I wanted a big one, a big Marzano, to cross with my cherry to make a little bigger than plum size or aroma size, about this big tomato of my own. And they're coming on. I'm not sure how I'm going to like them. We'll see how it goes. So I've only got 2 examples of that. I just didn't have a lot of space. So, but in the spring garden, I'm going to grow a lot of them, examples. While we're here, I've got 4 broccolis that I planted in here. Broccoli is like other brassicas. They take at least 60 to 120 days to develop, or all brassicas do. Broccoli is a little longer, especially because it's been a little cooler in here. Everything grows slower when it gets colder. So let's go talk about Pink Crush down here. This is Pink Crush. It's a tentative name I call Pink Crush, and it is a cross between my cherry tomato and Big Zac, an open pollinated version of Big Zac. In other words, someone took Big Zac, which is a hybrid, and they grew it out several generations, and that tomato is no longer Big Zac, it's something else, but it's a dehybridization of Big Zac. I grew that particular variety several years ago, and I got a 2-pound tomato out of it, and that particular plant is the one I crossed with my cherry, and that ultimately became Pink Crush. And they're doing really good. I've got a really good example I'm hoping here. I'll show you here. It's already producing fruit really early. You see here, and these plants are probably about 2 feet tall, 24 inches or so. But it's already got 3 set on it. I'm really looking forward to how these grow. I'm also going to plant a bunch of these in the spring in my no-weed garden. This particular plant here, I let a sucker grow out. It started growing here, and then I cut it as soon as I saw a little leaf here, and now the little sucker that I left is starting to grow. And that's one way you can delay growth of something. Is I want this one to replace, I'm going to cut it off here eventually, so that this can become a whole new plant, and that would remove all of this foliage up here. But before I do that, I want to get the fruit off. This is pretty much the size of Donovan. This plant is called Donovan, named after my son Donovan. And it's about a 2-inch tomato, and it is incredible. It is an incredible, in every aspect it's incredible. It tastes great. It's a beautiful symmetrical shape, and it's I think I said it's about 2 ounces, but it's just phenomenal. And even with big clusters like over here, it still makes good size. You see this, how long this truss is? It still makes really good sized tomatoes. My next cross is Dawn, D-A-W-N, and this is a cross with my cherry and chocolate stripes, a tomato that I've always liked called chocolate stripes. And you can see it's trying to put out a little bit of chocolate stripes type striping, but once it turns its final color, it turns from this to an amber color to a really kind of a rich red, like a blood red, and when it's fully ripe, and it tastes phenomenal. I made selections now for I think 3 years on this one, and it's just fantastic. And look at the size. It's pretty good size. I mean, it's a slicer size. It's not huge, but I'm really liking this one, and I'm liking its attributes as well. It's very productive, and it tastes great, and that's my version of a dark tomato. We're going to start down here with my cherry in between the pepper leaves. Let me see if I can get in there. You can see my cherry here. Let me put my finger on, yeah, right here is changing colors. I've already gotten tons of cherry tomatoes, not only from this one, but from Gardener's Delight and Gardener's Sweetheart. And they're just continuing. If you look at this truss here, it's so heavy, it's bent over. And even though I've removed a lot of the tomatoes on that, there's still tons of tomatoes here. And we go up a little bit here, and you can see the next truss, and this is that truss. And there's some ripening fruit here that'll be ready tomorrow. I think you saw those down there, but a couple of these will be ripe tomorrow. And here's some up here again, here and here, and this is just like the best tomato it's just got so many fantastic qualities, and that's why I crossed everything to it to begin with. Well, one of the reasons. The tomato itself is, I don't know if you call it a multiflora or a cineflora, meaning that it produces a ton of tomatoes on every single truss. And a truss, if you don't know, is this branch here that's also bent over here. But a truss is a branch that has all of the tomatoes, starts out with flowers, and when it's nothing but flowers, it's beautiful. And then all the tomatoes come on, and they're quite large. So I wouldn't say that it has 100 tomatoes on each one, but it certainly has near 50 or better, even better in a lot of cases. But it's still going. You can see them up here, and I whacked it off, and I think there's some suckers back in the mess back there that are trying to continue. So if I can collect these tomatoes, Hopefully it'll sucker again on the bottom, that I can remove all this old stuff and begin again, and we just continue that, and I'll continue to have sweet, beautiful cherry tomatoes. While we're on the tomatoes here, this is Gardener's Delight, Gardener's Sweetheart, sorry. Gardener's Sweetheart is a tomato cross between Gardener's Delight, which is right next to it. I got this one, Gardener's Delight, and Gardener's Sweetheart from Annapolis Seeds in Nova Scotia, Canada. But Gardener's Delight, or Sweetheart, I keep saying that, Gardener's Sweetheart is the child of Gardener's Delight and a plum tomato. And so this one is quite unusual. Gardener's Sweetheart implies that this is a heart shape, but it looks more to me like a plum, not a plum, a bell pepper or even a strawberry by the way it looks, than a heart, because it's got these dimples in it. But it's a really good tomato. It tastes a little bit better than Gardener's Delight. Gardener's Delight I'm not really that impressed with, and so you can see here where I've taken these as they've ripened along with my tomato. My tomato is well beyond any of these, and I'm not going to cross to any of these two because that's just going backwards in my opinion. But they do taste quite fine as a salad tomato, and they're definitely better than store-bought tomatoes. So I'm getting lots of cherries every day. Not every day, but every other day I get, I don't know, 15, 20 cherries.